All right, guys, real quick, I want to give you an option for your gauge cluster in your 64 to 66 C10. What we have here is a fiberglass unit. I believe I got this from Munsseyspeed. I just checked their price. These are 220 bucks. I don't remember paying that, but inflation's crazy. They also offer it in carbon fiber, and it comes completely blank. You have to cut your own holes. And the reason why I went with this option, you have different things you can obviously do. You can go with a factory gauge cluster, you can go with one of those fully digital ones, or you can buy like the ball milled billet ones that have the dolphin gauges in it. The reason why I don't go with that one is because dolphin gauges suck and they're ugly. The reason why I don't do an OEM setup is because these really don't give you a lot of information, the gauges. And on top of that, this one's not even a voltmeter, it's amps, which is trash. And this speedometer is not going to work with a modern transmission like a 4L80E. And on top of that, when I bought this off eBay for like $700, the speedometer took a crap in 5 miles, and I never even bothered setting up the RPM gauge. So I'm going to go ahead and sell this on eBay and just tell them that the speedometer doesn't work, but everything else works. The only thing I was really using it for was fuel and oil pressure. The reason why I don't do digital gauge clusters is because they're ugly as hell. They're like all blue, super generic looking. Maybe if it was like an LCD screen, like a new car, and I could put whatever features I wanted, make it look cool, but that's not available. So I went with this fiberglass unit from Munsseyspeed. They're currently about 220 bucks. They come fully blank. You have to cut out all your holes. And the way that I did that was, if you look at the new mount for these gauges, the outer part is basically the same size as the outside part of the bevel, and the inner part is obviously the same as here. So if I trace out the inner and the outer, it gives me an idea of not only how I need to cut my hole, but whether it's going to clear the other gauges. Now that's important because I stuffed a bunch of gauges in here. In fact, this is a double gauge. It's fuel and volts, so I have 8 gauges in here, which is another reason why I didn't buy any of the pre-done gauge clusters, because none of them are going to come with a boost and air fuel. And that's really important to me with a supercharger. So that alone nixed just about every other option for me. But this allowed me to pick and choose what gauges I wanted. And the cool thing is, like, half these gauges came for free from a customer, because I did a gauge cluster swap and he said just go ahead and keep them. So I had to purchase some of them, some were free. So this gauge cluster was actually pretty cheap for me. And like I said, cutting out the holes was, you could use a hole saw, but I don't really like it because it's kind of sloppy. So what I ended up using was a Dremel with the little disc, and I just slowly went around, and then when it finally cut its way out, I used the little barrel sanding bit, little circular one, to kind of smooth it all out. And I just took my time till the gauge slid in with some slight stiffness. You don't want to go to town on it and then that thing be all sloppy and you've got gaps that you can see. So using this technique allows me to get the inner diameter for cutting out the gauge where it's going to slide in, and also gives me an idea about where the gauge is going to sit in comparison with others. Because if you could see, I mean, it's tight. It had to be pretty accurate. To do the big ones, they don't have a bracket like this one, which would have been perfect for the bigger ones. So what I used was, I originally had the tack mounted to the steering column with this clamp, and I set the clamp up to where it was the same diameter as the the inside part here of the hole, and I used that to trace it out. And again, the outside part was about roughly the same size as the outer bevel here. So using a combination of those brackets, I was able to mark out where I wanted everything, placed it how visually I wanted to see it, and then just took my time cutting it out with the Dremel tool and then sanding it to be all smooth. Stuck the gauges in there, mounted it, wired it up. You know, the wiring self-explanatory if you follow the instructions. And I'm just about done. Couple caveats here. Well, for one, Munsseyspeed includes all of your holes, which granted, if you're not using them, that could be annoying. You could fill it. You'd have to fill them in. So that's kind of cool. And they do also include the mount holes, though I don't like the fact that the top ones here aren't beveled. So when I put my screw head in there, it kind of sticks out a little bit. And they don't include the side ones. And I think maybe because this is fiberglass, it's a lot lighter. This whole setup seems so, probably half as the weight of this one. So maybe they're thinking, they didn't need these right here to support it. But other than that, when it bolts in, it looks great. I have to take this all apart, clean it up, and then paint it black. I was just kind of mocking everything up right now. But I just wanted to make this video to give you guys an option for doing your gauges if you run into a situation like me where nothing in the aftermarket is supporting what you need, especially if you're running boost. So let me know what you guys think. I think this looks really clean. I can't wait to paint it and get it all mounted in there. And yeah, I'm super happy with it.